Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. Welcome Nicholas, Justin, Jorge, Hunter, Maine, Alex, Sean, Vicky, and Mac. Thank you guys so much for joining today, and we are set for a very interesting week. To start off, we're starting to see the airlines pop off. Remember, we had that news with like American Airlines, Delta, and United, how they will actually be flying, or they'll be assisting with getting people out of Afghanistan. So they're popping up to start the day. Definitely keep these ones on your radar. They have potential to move, and in the past, like, all it takes is one little catalyst for these things to really pop off. Another thing we're really watching is like Bitcoin and cryptos today. So stocks to watch are like Mara, Riot, Coinbase. We can see Bitcoin's popping off. And Tom, it's above 50,000.
Yeah, that's a huge move. We were actually talking about this in the video yesterday. And man, Bitcoin's been so strong lately, moving very, very well. A lot of people are maybe thinking 50,000 would be a good resistance for it, but I'm glad to see Bitcoin popping up through there and kind of breaking out. I really like that move. And man, it's just been so on fire the past few days and the past couple of weeks. It's been kind of crazy off that $30,000 support down there. Really good levels for Bitcoin, and I'm glad to see it. But like you said, it's going to really make Mara and Riot start to go up here. And at open, like, we're going to see Mara gap up pretty nicely along with Riot. I know those calls are going to be moving very nicely. Looks like Riot is actually has a lot of momentum here heading into open, and I really like the setups here out of these two stocks with Bitcoin moving like this. And obviously, whenever Bitcoin moves, these stocks generally go up, but they've also been bouncing off supports on Riot and Mara. So overall, it just looks pretty good.
Awesome stuff. So we're starting to see some positive momentum come back into the markets. And Tom, I haven't heard anyone talk about this one yet. I haven't even seen any news on it, but check out gold. So like GLD, it's up quite a bit today.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big move with gold. And man, they're all the way up to 169, almost 170 on GLD. Looking pretty good here. And there's actually pretty big resistances up here around like 172. So be a little careful of that over the next few days. But man, GLD really had a nice gap up this morning after kind of consolidating with red candles there for quite a few days. I'm glad to see it move up. And, Mike, I wonder if there's like some fear coming into the market because we have Bitcoin going up and gold going up. And a lot of people have been saying that those are pretty good hedges against the market. And with the market at all-time highs and with gold at these lower levels, along with Bitcoin even being, they were at their lower levels before this huge rise. It's been a pretty good opportunity to buy in low down there. And I wonder if a lot of like bigger investors are kind of hedging themselves right now and just de-risking, like we talked about, markets are at all-time highs and we have all these other, some like growth stocks and then these other things like commodities kind of like at lows.
For sure, and I think the big thing is because we know that there's a lot of talk with the Feds right now about like inflation and tapering and all that stuff. So I know there's like a lot of uncertainty and I guess you can say fear like in that aspect of the market. So I can definitely see investors like buying up gold, like precious metals in general, and then even cryptos to hedge against inflation. So it should be very interesting because I know that tapering news with the Fed is pretty big. So definitely keep that on your radar. Tom, to start the day, it looks like if we take a look at FXI, these China stocks, they are popping up a decent amount. They're up like 1% in pre-market. Baba is trying to run, but look, it's like about to get rejected again, Tom. Baba.
Yeah, Baba somehow has a big red candle here at open. This 5-minute candle is pretty bad, Mike. And man, we might be going back down to that low around 155.30 over the next few minutes. We're already almost back there. And it's just definitely not been good for Baba the past few days. Pretty bad stuff. I heard over the weekend, I saw some articles about possible delistings and stuff. Not that would happen to Baba, but maybe a couple of the other Chinese stocks. Obviously, that'll cause almost all of them to go down, though, which is a pretty bad piece of news to see. But, I was looking at JD, and they looked like they were trying to run today, which is a good sign at least. DD does have a little bit of a green candle coming back, so that's good. And they're up 1.2%, which is decent. But you're right, Mike. For some reason, Baba is just like really falling behind those other Chinese stocks.
All right. So then we have Shelly saying, sorry late for joining, SPY plays, call options. So basically asking what the move is on the SPY. So, it has a lot of momentum right now. Like if you're looking for like a quick trade, I would say, maybe SPY calls, but like for a swing, personally, I wouldn't. There is a lot of momentum with like cryptos right now, like Mara and Riot are popping up pretty well. Honestly, like out of everything, I think I'm really watching like airlines the most. With this like the news with this Afghanistan catalyst, like AAL. I think it has a lot of potential. I would say it's less likely to go up than the SPY. However, like let's say you have like a day trade on the SPY, you might make like 10 or 15% if it works in your favor. But some of these airlines are so low. Like if they have a solid green candle, it could be huge. But like I said, it's probably less likely to pop than the SPY.
Yeah, and AAL is actually right around support around like 1830 to 1825. So it doesn't look too bad in my opinion either. And I kind of like it. And I think you're right, Mike. Like Bitcoin and gold and just some of these other things that are at lower levels, even like AAL and like Palantir, Zoom, a few other stocks even. I think it's a lot better than buying like the SPY. Obviously, the SPY is like at highs right now. And if we get like a nice like 10 to 20% pullback or something like that, don't be too surprised because we're just, we've been rocketing up to highs right now. And it's not like we've just been doing it for just, a month or two. Like it's been going on for quite a while, ever since about like last October. So honestly, just like one whole year straight upwards movement will usually come with some type of, correction or, like we'll see something probably go on. And with all these catalysts right now, I just don't think is the time for that, kind of like what we were saying.
All right, and then we have Maine saying, or just asking about TRIL. So this thing's up 200%, Tom, basically on the day. Let me look at the news. Looks like they were downgraded. I'm trying to see. Let's see. Oh, I see. So they're being acquired. So that's obviously huge news. Looks like Pfizer is acquiring TRIL for $18.50 a share. Valued at $2.26 billion. So, I mean, it has a lot of momentum, but here's the thing now. Since they're being acquired for $18.50 a share, if you buy in at, let's say, $17.70 right now, it's not like this thing's going to go up to 22 or 20. Like, the cap is theoretically at $18.50. So if you buy shares, you're just kind of like playing the merge or the acquisition catalyst, you can say.
Yeah, and to be honest, like it's so crazy. A lot of times whenever stocks pop 200% like this, like in pre-market or on this type of news, a lot of times you'll see it end up going down for the next couple of days too, just because the move was so drastic. So keep that in mind as well if you're going to be buying in right now. But I mean, I can't believe this. This is a pretty big move, and man, that's a big move, Mike. And sometimes these therapeutic companies, they just have really good news, kind of like with these breakthroughs, or in this case, they're getting bought up by Pfizer, and Pfizer is one of the better companies out there. And man, look at Pfizer's stock actually has been on fire, but looks like Pfizer will actually be going to the downside. And I have a weird feeling that this acquisition might be like the start of a little bit of a downwards move here. And it looks like we even have lower highs being posted.
All right, and then we have Alex saying, how does GM look for a daily/swing trade on puts? They are on a recent downtrend. So you're absolutely right. They definitely have been downtrending. And I saw that they have like a $1 billion recall for their Chevy Bolt. So that's not good news. It's $1 billion down the drain. I can see it. It's definitely downtrending. It has a lot of sellers coming into it. So I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad, and we're getting near support, so I'd be a little careful of that. But the good news, I think, is that we fell below $50. I think that was a good sign for GM, and to be honest, I think it's a pretty good play to the downside too. And if you just look at it like on the 1 minute, like I said, we are nearing support in a way around like 45, but we're honestly quite a ways away. And the way it's bouncing to the downside right now doesn't look too bad for an entry, because it popped up and kind of bounced off of some of these SMAs, and now we're just heading back down. And it's good that we're not like at the low of day, so the entry time is honestly pretty good.
Here we go. So it looks like we have DraftKings popping up, which is great to see. HOOD, how's that one doing? Robinhood's not doing bad. They're up like 5%. Yeah, so it looks like we're actually seeing some good momentum today, Tom. Like especially from like LVS. This one's trending pretty well. I know they've been struggling a lot over the past couple months, and they're not too bad for like a dip buy. I saw Boeing was popping up pretty well. What else? Visa not doing bad. DraftKings. How's Twitter? Twitter's having a pretty nice bounce too.
Yeah, TWTR. Some of these tech stocks have been doing really nice. Like Twitter and Facebook the past few days. Looks like Facebook's actually moving up as well. Usually they move around the same, so I was kind of expecting that. But man, Twitter on the daily chart is honestly looking pretty nice, Mike. Like it's really starting to turn back to the upside. And who knows? I don't know if we'll be able to retest $70 soon again, but looks like we could at least retest like 65 or 66. And I think it looks like a pretty solid play. Facebook on the daily looks pretty solid as well. Like they're actually going to try to retest all-time highs here, maybe over the next few days. So it doesn't look too bad. And it's just, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good day overall. You know, we got the SPY coming back. We got the QQQ. I think actually hitting all-time highs here, Mike. Yeah, look at that. The QQQ just hit all-time highs.
Crazy. Alrighty. Yeah, I was also looking at Boeing, like just for like a dip buy for the long term. I feel like that they're at like a pretty good level right now. With everything, you know, I feel like they have, you know, just, you know, they're a solid company, of course, and I feel like they're one of those plays where, you know, I know they move kind of slow, but I feel like they're a solid company, and, you know, at these levels, I like them for the long term.
I do too. And you know what? If you look at my my long-term blue trend line here on the daily chart, I mean, man, it's the we hit off of it all the way back in like 2020 on that big drop in March and April, and then we bounced off of it again in last November, and then we hit off of it just a couple days ago and a couple weeks ago as well, and it's really holding up well off of this trend line. And I think it's a great time to buy shares for Boeing as well as maybe short some puts on it, Mike. I don't know about, you know, obviously the stock's been going up a couple days, so the premium's not going to be quite as good as it was. But the good news is that Boeing is kind of on the uptrend, so that's good news there. And for shares, I think it's a great time to buy. Anywhere under 220, I think is a bit of a bargain, and I really like it. And who knows, if we have like news with like Afghanistan or something, like that could kind of play good for Boeing, kind of like it would for like Lockheed or, you know, Northrop Grumman.
All right, and then we have AJ saying thoughts on QQQ and SPY this morning. So let's take a look. I mean, they're both popping up. They both have good momentum. You know, they're good for like short-term trades. Personally, like this is just my personal opinion. I like Airlines better today. Like we gave the example to Shelly. I feel like the SPY and QQQ, statistically speaking, have a higher chance of rising. But like the airlines, like if they do continue to rise, the moves would be much larger and it would be a lot more profitable.
Yeah, definitely. And that percentage gain will definitely be more. Like if the SPY goes up another 5%, that would be pretty big for the SPY. But, you know, for AAL, if it goes up 5%, that's almost nothing. We can see it's already up 3.5% today alone. So
Yeah.
I'm with you, Mike. I think that there's a lot better opportunities like the SPY, or I mean, like the AAL and some of those other things over the SPY. But looking at some of these stocks today, I mean, man, we've got some crazy movers. We actually have crude oil up 4%, Mike. This is pretty crazy. They're actually popping up pretty well off of $62. And who knows? I mean, I wonder if some of this Afghanistan news is making oil pop up as well, because, you know, you would think that it would make oil honestly go up. I know oil was kind of falling off last week, but, you know, OPEC was kind of doing some stuff with their production as well. But looking at crude this week, I mean, you would think maybe some of this Afghanistan news would make it go up. You know, generally Middle East news makes crude oil fly.
Very true. Alrighty, let's see what else we have. Just looking at a couple different things right now. And we have Justin saying, what do you think on SAVA? Let's take a look. SAVA, how's it looking, Tom?
Pretty good actually today. You know, like we're seeing a lot across the board though. Lots of stocks are kind of popping up off supports today. Like we have BLNK, CHPT, looks like SAVA. A lot of them just kind of gapped up this morning in pre-market and are kind of going up right now. I like the movement out of it though. It looks like there's a pretty solid support down here right at $100, which, surprise, surprise, another good psychological level that a stock bounced off of. And we have Sava kind of moving back to the upside. And like I said, it looks pretty good off support. I like it actually to the upside for like maybe today or the next day or two. Just be a little bit careful, you know, but the good news is that $100 held up pretty nicely for us.
Awesome. And then let me get this real quick. I was really looking at like Penn, like maybe not for like a dip buy for shares, but like maybe selling some puts on. I really like the setup.
Me too, actually. And just looking at it overall, like it looks like a pretty good bounce off that 60 support a few days ago. Back on, it looks like on the day they had earnings, actually, like around August 5th. And I do like how they bounced off of $65 a couple days ago as well. But I really like Penn for the long term. I think they'll end up doing great. Them and DraftKings are some of my favorites on the market. And just looking at Penn, I love the bounces off supports, and it has a lot of strength today, looking like we could honestly go up today and maybe for the next couple days. Now, I'm not saying we'll honestly keep flying up today. I would look at it more for tomorrow, but I really like the movement. It has a lot of momentum. And the good news is that those earnings were honestly really good a couple weeks ago. So I really think that'll give a lot of investors a lot of encouragement, I should say, or just a lot of like good sentiments around the stock so that they can kind of, have a good understanding and just invest in with confidence down here at the bottom. I think it'll bring a lot of investors into the stock.
There we go. All right, American Airlines is popping off. They're up like 4% today. Love to see it. Kieran is asking about AMD. So AMD is up around 2.3%. Resistance right at 107.50. So watch that. On the daily, it's just kind of like holding its ground. It's not looking like too great on the daily, but this intraday movement so far isn't looking too bad. Tom, what levels do you have for us?
Yeah, it's not looking terrible. The main levels to look for at the bottom are going to be around 100 or like 102. I think will be the main support. There's another good support around 105, which we kind of hit off of this morning before going up. So in the short term, I'd look at 105. And then for like a good resistance to the upside, definitely watch for 110. That was a big area for AMD. And I would think that we could hit 110 over the next few days, given how much of a fall we had from 122. Now, I don't think AMD is necessarily going to keep flying up to 150 or anything like that, but I think that we could easily, maybe come up and retest like that 110 to like 108 area over the next couple days. But I just be really careful with AMD though. There's been a lot of mixed opinion and a lot of people have been kind of playing it to the downside lately. So keep that in mind as well. I know that we've been seeing lots of big numbers come into like puts and just calls and stuff on AMD that are pretty far out of the money, which would indicate that they're shorting them and stuff. So always be careful. It could be a pretty hard stock to trade, but I do kind of like how it pulled back, Mike. And if we get a solid bounce off of like $100 or something like that, I think that AMD might start to go back up. But like I said, I don't expect it to break out to all-time highs, especially like with the markets the way that they've been looking lately.
Awesome. Alrighty, and then we have Sean saying, how does Z look? Watching that $97.89 level. So Zillow, let's take a look. I think it looks pretty good. I'm a huge fan of Redfin, and, it moves pretty similar to Zillow. So I actually like it. It's bouncing up right now. Had good volume on Friday. IV is in a good spot. It has momentum. It's at a low level. I like it.
Yep, bounce off support pretty nicely down there around $90 and looks really solid. Lots of momentum back up. Now be a little careful of that $100 resistance. That's probably going to be, a pretty big level there at $100, but I think we will break it. It looks like the stock is definitely going to test it nonetheless, and definitely looks pretty good. Lots of momentum, and maybe tomorrow we will break 100 or even later today, but hopefully it does, because I think that'll be a pretty good move for Zillow. If it breaks 100, I think that'll end up making 100 be a really good support for the stock, and it'll be a really good time to buy, honestly, if it does break out.
Here we go. And then we have Raphael saying Macy's is still running, fellas. There we go. So yeah, I saw that. It's up like 2.5%. It's like slowly breaking out, but like it has pretty good candles intraday. It's breaking yearly highs, and it's not looking bad, Tom.
Yeah, pretty nice movement actually, all the way up to $23. Doesn't look terrible, like we said, and it's honestly moving really well off these SMAs and stuff to the upside, holding the 100 on the 5-minute chart and kind of bouncing off it this morning. And you're right, it doesn't look bad. And on the daily, Macy's just keeps going up. I mean, man, it's honestly retested this level before, so we might start to get a breakout, maybe up to like $25 or something. I think that would be a really cool thing to see with Macy's. And they've just been getting beaten down so hard that it would just be really cool to see them go up. And I'm going to have to like look into them a little bit and kind of check out their like short interest and stuff, because man, I mean, just looking at it, like I wonder if a lot of shorts were shorting Macy's. I'm not saying that there's a squeeze going on right now, but man, I'm sure a lot of people were kind of bearish on them being in the retail sector and everything, kind of like they were bearish on AMC. So, I mean, I haven't looked into it too much, but I would think this one could be a pretty good like candidate for a short squeeze.
All right, Tom, what is going on with DraftKings? It's up like 3%.
Yeah, DraftKings looking great actually, and they've been holding that $50 support very well. I really like this movement, Mike. Pretty good off of this off of that support. The technicals are looking pretty good. And the thing I like, a lot of people might have missed this, but with DraftKings a couple days ago in pre-market, it kind of came down and posted some candles down here around $50 or $50.18 is where it ended up printing at the bottom of this wick. But looking at it, it kind of got close to that $50 support in pre-market. And, a few times we had hit $50 with DraftKings in pre-market kind of like this, and then ended up going up. So looking at it, I was really going to look at it for some good upwards movement. And man, I'm glad that we're getting it now after that bad morning. And it just looked like a good bounce off support, but we are getting up to resistance around 54, but we've retested it like 4 or 5 times now. So I would expect a breakout. And on the daily, DraftKings just honestly looks really strong, Mike. Like it's held its ground really nicely and looks like we're definitely going to be retesting 54. And like I said, maybe expect a breakout up to like 56 or something.
There we go. So it looks like AMD's really rallying so far today. They're up like 2.6%, but that momentum's pretty solid. We are testing that $107.50 level right now. Definitely keep that one on your radar. GM is selling off a little bit. They are currently down around 2.5%. They're getting pretty, well, they're at their low of day, but they're getting close to that low in after hours on Friday, right around $47.21. Airbnb is not doing too bad either. They have some pretty good momentum. Watch that one. And yeah, that's the main one. And then we have Iranical saying thoughts on Vale, VALE. So they're down around 1% today. They're bouncing off support. It's just like, it's not bad. It's just, I feel like there's way better setups out there, like DraftKings to the upside, Penn to the upside, Redfin to the upside, maybe even Airlines to the upside. It's not bad. I just feel like there's better opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't, the thing that worries me is like there's a huge support here right around $18. And it just scares me. It looks like we're going to be breaking it, to be honest. Like this downwards movement has been pretty straight down. So it does scare me a little bit. I think that there's also better opportunities out there, especially today. Like we have some stocks moving pretty well, like CHPT off support looks really good. And, we all morning we've been talking about some of these like lower price stocks that have been bouncing off supports. We have DraftKings moving very well. Also, we even have, stocks like, Mike, what are some of those other stocks that we were talking about earlier this morning? It just can't get into my head, but
Yep.
One of these like these growth stocks that are pretty low.
Yeah, Redfin's one of them. DraftKings, PENN, of course.
Yeah, Zillow and Penn, those were the two I was thinking of.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot of stocks, Tom. Like I know you just mentioned this, but there's a lot of stocks at good levels. Like we just listed, and they have good momentum for the short term, but they're even good pickups for the long term. A lot of these.
Yeah, they are. And that's the main reason I just keep, I wanted to talk about them again is just because look at this on the daily chart. Like look at Penn Gaming, where we're sitting right now. We have a pretty good potential. Like even if we don't get to all-time highs, let's say we go up like half the way, right? Well, we'll still be up a nice 43% on Penn Gaming if we go up and retest $100 over the next 3 months, possibly 6 months. And that's a pretty good move. 40% is pretty good. A lot of people wish that they could make 40% on their portfolios every year. I know a lot of people could say that. And just looking at Penn Gaming, looks pretty good. Lots of stocks are just really low right now. And then we also have the opposite end of the spectrum. Look at Penn Gaming, how far they are off their highs at 142. But now let's go check something out like Apple, for example, who's at all-time highs right now. Or even a better example, Microsoft just continues to break out to all-time highs and hit new ones. And this is one where you'd expect almost a pullback to happen over the next few months. And then we would expect maybe some of these lower price growth stocks to kind of go up. Now, lately, we've been seeing a transition into Microsoft out of those growth stocks. And soon, I think we'll see that kind of turn back around. And I think that those growth stocks will start to really pick up the main blunt or the main momentum out of the whole market there. And I think a lot of those big players will start to get back into these lower price stocks also.
Good stuff. All right, so Tom, what are you seeing with this BABA movement? It looks like it's trying to bounce up. What are you seeing?
Personally, I mean, I don't see it bouncing up too hard. I think it might just be like a little bit of like a dead cat bounce up today, intraday or something. I'm just not going to be bullish on these Chinese stocks. It was looking decent in pre-market. I was hoping that we would see a little bit of like a resurrection here out of China, but it looks like we're not going to see that. More downwards movement is happening, and it's just never good to see. 154 does look like a pretty good support though down there. So maybe that could be a good support, but personally, it's just not for me anymore. I don't think I'd be chasing the bottom right now. Maybe I'll just wait and see if we could get a good bounce off the 150 support or maybe somewhere around there before I kind of hop in. And, with this one, I'd be really careful. I don't think that you need to be too early. Like with some stocks like Apple or Microsoft, I think it's okay to be a little early if you're trying to get into shares or something like that. But with BABA, I'd be really careful right now. I would definitely wait for like some solid momentum back to the upside, I think, before I personally get in. I don't know about you, Mike, but especially with everything going on, it's pretty risky. And, I kind of was looking into some of this Taiwan news that you were telling me about yesterday. And it's like China could possibly like invade them, and or they're really kind of, hyping up their like military stuff right now. So be a little careful. There's a lot of conflict going on in the world, and just with BABA, it's a Chinese stock. I even saw some articles about possible delistings over the weekend. Not that it would happen to BABA. Like I said earlier, I think it would happen to like maybe like DD or some of these other, lower price stocks, but it's definitely a bad catalyst to even talk about.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now, and the market continues to pop up, but that's just how it works sometimes. And then we have Maine saying, "Oh wow, huge red candle on Mara 1 minute chart." Let's take a look. MARA, so they're up like 6% on the day. But yeah, I mean that is a pretty big candle, Tom.
Yeah, it's almost like their big red candle that they had there to open, and man, that was a big like rejection they had. Let's go check out like slash BTC, or let's just check out Bitcoin on TradingView, and see like what we're looking at there. And it doesn't look like as of right now Bitcoin is too low. Yeah, it doesn't look like they're too low right now, but just looking at it, it looks like it could though start to fall off here for sure. Maybe we'll come back down and retest 50,000 today. It definitely looks like though Bitcoin might start to fall here in the shorter term, which is not a good sign for Mara and Riot. So I'm not too surprised to see him down like this. Looks like slash BTC looks the same. So yeah, I'm not too surprised, Mike, but definitely a bad and scary candles to see out of Riot and Mara. And I was honestly hoping for some more upwards movement today. Bitcoin broke 50,000, and I was hoping for a nice move up, not kind of like a breakout of 50K and then a move right back down. That's kind of a kind of a letdown there.
Yep. All right, we have Spacely saying, "Good morning, stocked up fam." So welcome to the stream, Spacely. Guys, if you like the stream, it would really help us out if you could hit that like button. It takes like 2 seconds, and it would really help us grow the channel, and we would greatly appreciate it. And then, Tom, I'm not sure if you saw this one. I know we pointed it out earlier, but Pfizer's making a pretty good reversal. PFE, like they completely reverse, and they're popping to the upside.
Yeah, that's actually a really good reversal, Mike. And I was looking for Pfizer to possibly start to move down now since they like double topped around 51. But this momentum's pretty nice. And who knows, they might go up and break $51 and start to run up again. And especially with them acquiring that company, that's probably decent news for them. Normally, though, the company that buys the other one ends up going down. So that's what worries me with Pfizer is I feel like it could end up going down off of that. But I do like it nonetheless, and it looks decent. And I would think that we could go up and break $51 today, especially with the kind of momentum that Pfizer's had lately. I was just looking at it to the downside and, just kind of looking at it objectively. And I think that we will end up going down eventually, but it might not be today. It might be in a few days or in a few weeks even. Who knows? Whenever these stocks start to rise, they really run, and they're a great vaccine stock. So I would not bet against them by any means.
All right, and then we have Max saying, "Took some Riot profits this morning and was feeling regretful until that red candle came in." Yeah, I mean, everyone struggles taking profits at any given level, but hey, it never hurts to take profits, and I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but I guess it's satisfying to see you sell out, and then it's pretty close to the top. So good stuff there. Nvidia is also popping up, Tom. They're breaking like 215.40 right now, and that's their all-time high. They just broke it.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. This is a pretty big move actually above all-time highs. Their previous all-time high, let's go look at it on the 4-hour chart. Looks like it was like right around 210. So we're about 5 points above there, which is nice to see. And man, they are really popping up. I love this with Nvidia. And I don't think this was expected. I think after that split, a lot of people were expecting them to kind of fall off the table. And it looks like they're still continuing up. And I'm glad to see it with Nvidia. And congratulations to everybody who's been buying into them. I know that they're one of the best AI stocks out there. And for the long term, they've been very, very highly regarded as like the best semiconductor stock, or, the best like computer, like chip stock, or, whatever you want to call that sector, the chip sector or the semiconductor sector, whatever you want to call it. They've definitely been the leaders of that group, and definitely looking really solid today, up 3.2%. Love to see it with Nvidia. Congratulations to everybody who's been playing those calls. I know quite a few people have. And then AMD is also looking decent today, up 2.2%. I didn't think that Nvidia, after they had their initial fall down, I didn't think that they'd break up the all-time highs, but now it's scaring me because I might think AMD might try to do that too over the next week or two.
All right. And then we have Jorge saying CLOV is trying to recover back up to $8. So, yeah, let's take a look at it. I know it's one of those hype stocks and definitely has potential to run. It's up like 3% today. And, that $8 level is a pretty big resistance.
Yeah, actually huge on Clove. That used to be a huge support for them, but definitely look out for it. They're hitting it like right now, actually. I wonder if we'll start to see some big red candles or something on the 1 minute off of there. And if we do, that could be a good opportunity for puts. But if we don't, it could be showing a good breakout or something. But either way, Clove just isn't the stock for me personally. I don't like it, but I know a lot of people really like it. And, I know it had that good movement in the past, which is going to make it look pretty promising. But, keep in mind that earnings aren't very good. And also that hype has just kind of like left the market. Like we have Clove, obviously at lows now. We have kind of like GME or GameStop, they have a little bit of green momentum today, but overall they're like around lows too. And it's just not looking good for those hype stocks in the short term, but hopefully they can start to get back up over the next few days. And who knows, if we break $8 and get a good candle, it could show some good momentum.
True that. And then like I'm just looking at BABA, Tom, like it's just really selling off. Like there's clearly a lot of big money selling out of this one. Like it tries to bounce and like every single time just rejected.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like there's some big players really, I think, getting out of this. And I think even some players that I think some people are taking some big losses, honestly. Like if you look at Baba's stock, like man, for the next, like if we look at the max daily anyways, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of investors buying in around like 223, definitely around 200. I would assume, around 250 even too. And just looking at it, like it's just terrible moves to see this happen. I hate to see it. Hopefully they bounce off the 150 support, but personally, I don't think they will. It's such bad news. Possible like delisting, news came out over the weekend and stuff. So just really bad stuff to hear. Obviously that's a terrible thing to hear with Baba, and it's just really bad news in the short term. I'd be really careful with these Chinese stocks. I know people love to grab good opportunities, but you know what? I think right now, instead of like chasing Baba or something, I mean, man, like DraftKings, CHPT, Zoom, Palantir, all these stocks are at such good levels. Zillow, Redfin. I mean, man, there's just such good opportunities. I don't think Baba's even worth chasing right now at all.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great point. I mean, I just can't believe this movement with these China stocks. Like, I don't know, it's crazy. So I just wanted to bring it up. But looking at a couple different stocks this morning, it looks like ARKK is trying to rebound a little bit. They're having a pretty good day. It looks like a lot of their holdings are up. And actually, speaking of ARK, what's Tesla doing? They're actually having a great day, and that's probably why ARK's having a great day too.
Yeah, Tesla's coming up, trying to retest $700. What do they have, Mike? A 10% weighting, was it?
It was close. It's high up there.
Yeah, it's something close, I thought, to 10%. And yeah, they have a big weighting in the ARKK, and I know Zillow does too, don't they?
I'd have to check. I'm actually curious. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, check real quick, I guess, because I think Zillow does too. I know that Zillow and Redfin are some of your favorites, but $700 seems like a pretty good resistance for Tesla here over the next like few minutes, obviously. And the 700's been a big level over the past few weeks, and we've been failing to stay above that. So hopefully Tesla can get back up above there and stay above there finally once and for all. But we might hit that as a resistance and then go back down. Nobody knows, but either way, really nice to see the ARKK going up. Love to see it. And, I bet Burry's upset to see this after last week that report came out where he was short ARKK.
For sure. So it looks like Tesla has a 10.5% weighting in ARKK. Zillow has around a 3% weighting, which is still relatively high. We have Zoom with like a 4.5% weighting. But like the top ones in ARKK are Tesla, Teladoc, and then Roku. And then Coinbase is kind of up there too. And then let's see what DraftKings is. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. DKNG. Let's see. Their weighting is around 2.3%. So, yeah, lots of their stocks are popping today. Like, look at Teladoc.
Yeah, Teladoc is doing awesome. Let's check out Roku as well. Yeah, I mean, Roku's in the green at least, which is better than red. But, yeah, a lot of those stocks are going up pretty significantly. Like we said, DraftKings, Palantir, like Zoom, of course, like they have a bunch of stocks in there that are all growth stocks. And mainly that whole growth sector has been going down a lot lately. And I'm glad to see him kind of popping back up. Now, that does kind of suck because that report came out where Burry was short ARKK last week. And that's going to be a pretty bad thing for him to see this going up right now. And I wonder if he's still going to be bearish on it, especially like if ARKK breaks up through like 120 and starts to really fly up back up towards like 140. Obviously, that'll be pretty scary for him. But, obviously these reports always come out a couple months late. So, like those reports were coming out saying that Burry was long these like in July and stuff. So like, that's honestly like a couple months ago. Like he obviously could have closed these like a few days ago, like while ARKK was around lows or, something like that. And we would have no idea until the reports come out a couple of months later. So it's really hard to tell with Burry, but honestly, it was crazy. Kathy Wood came out and was even like defending herself, Mike, saying that Burry and these shorters, they just don't understand like the growth sector and stuff like that. And pretty bold claims, but honestly, it's nice to see the stock going back up.
Oh, yeah. And then we have Iranical saying, do you think Amazon is rebounding? So AMZN, they're up like 1.6%. So they're definitely rebounding right now. They're bouncing off that $3,200 support. So, yeah, they're definitely popping up. And, they're definitely a good stock to own for the long term. And then we have Maine saying, and she was adding Mac saying, same with Mara. Minute after I sold, huge red candle came in. Was really lucky with that one. There we go. So that's good to hear with you guys. Palantir's having a pretty good day, Tom. They're up almost 3%.
Yeah, they are actually 3% even, and now it just fell back down, but they look pretty solid as well. And I'll tell you what, Palantir's daily setup here reminds me almost of DraftKings setup. They've just been consolidating for the past like 10 trading days, just kind of sitting here. And the setup does actually look kind of like DraftKings. And I would expect Palantir to kind of go up with these growth stocks as well. They're definitely in that growth stock type of category. I think for them, selling puts right now and just grabbing like leaps or shares is a really good way to go. Palantir, I think, is going to be one of those better growth stocks for the long term. And I really like it right now. It's at good levels to buy. And I like how a lot of the growth, a lot of the whole sector is really going up. So that's a good sign for them. And it just means that a lot of momentum might be coming back into these growth stocks, especially with like the SPY and the QQQ around all-time highs. I would not be surprised to see investors starting to pour into these.
Good stuff. Alrighty. What are you thinking with CHPT? I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, really good actually. Running up really well intraday. It had a nice like pre-market resistance around $22. And honestly, it looks like we might break that over the next couple minutes. These green candles have been looking really solid. Now we might get rejected there and go down a little bit again today, but don't be surprised. I really like the momentum, and I think we could end up going up on this stock again tomorrow. And I also saw some news over the weekend. Somebody put it in the Discord where I saw that Pelosi gave October 1st as like a finalized date for the infrastructure bill. So I guess they're saying it has to get passed by October 1st. which is good. And, that is over a month away though. So we still have the whole month of September to go before that does get passed. And I would expect that to help CHPT, BLNK, some of these other EV stocks whenever that does get passed. But the thing is that news should be pretty good. And as they start talking about it, if they keep that funding and if that funding comes up in the news and stuff, it'll really start to make these stocks go up. And the good news is that these stocks are at supports too.
Awesome, awesome. So let's see. Yeah, CHPT is definitely on my watch list. Even Microsoft's doing good. They're holding their ground. And what's interesting is while BABA is selling off, Tom, not all the China stocks are red. Like Baidu is holding its ground so much better than BABA, for example.
Yeah, it is. It's actually still green on the day, 0.59%. And you're actually right, because earlier on, JD was honestly looking pretty good too. They ended up turning red now, but initially it opened, they were honestly running up pretty well. And you're right, Baba's just looking like they've taken it worse than all these other Chinese stocks. Let's go check out Didi. I know they were looking pretty bad a while ago too. And yeah, I mean, they're selling off pretty drastically today, a lot worse than the other ones are for sure. But Baba's definitely the worst one. This one's pretty bad. And it's pretty bad. These China stocks, it's just a really unfortunate situation. And this news with Taiwan is getting kind of out of hand, so we'll have to see what ends up going on. But just not my favorite. And you're right though, it's weird to see some of these other ones just not moving quite the way BABA is. And personally, I would have thought BABA might have been a little better than some of these other companies, especially with popularity, maybe not with Chinese regulations or something like that. But definitely weird to see and weird catalyst going on. I'll definitely be staying away from these Chinese stocks personally.
All right, and then GM, Tom, they are really starting to bleed off, actually. They're down 3.2% now, and, they had that $1 billion recall.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we're revisiting General Motors, because that recall was pretty big and they're falling very well through that $50 support. This is pretty bad. And, GM was going up pretty significantly off this EV news. Them and Ford have been really investing into their companies as far as innovating on electric vehicles, trying to really get those electric vehicles out there to consumers and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a big hype thing right now. I know that they developed the electric Mustang, Ford did. GM has the electric Hummer and the electric Silverados coming up and everything like that. But hopefully they end up going back up. This was just a really big setback because it sucked because, they've been investing so much into their electric vehicles over the past couple of years and stuff like that. And now they had bad news with their electric vehicles. Their Chevy Volts had battery problems, which were causing fires. Obviously, there were more issues than just that. But, I mean, these recalls were terrible. $1 billion total, which, I mean, we see recalls happen all the time with these companies like GM, Ford, Daimler, Volkswagen. You see it all the time. And it's just an unfortunate situation. Generally sends a stock down, like we're seeing with General Motors. And I'm really curious. I'm going to flip. I haven't checked Ford at all in the past couple of weeks. I'm really curious to see if they're kind of going down with General Motors. And it looks like generally they have been kind of selling off with them. And does look like Ford's getting close to that $12 support too. And honestly, with them going down, I think it's making pretty good investing opportunities for these companies. Now, it does suck to see them going down like this, but I like the levels on General Motors right now. It's definitely better than buying it up here at around $55. So honestly, it's not looking bad. And I would think maybe selling some puts would be a pretty good idea soon, especially with these stocks innovating with EVs. I don't think that they're going to go anywhere anytime soon.
You know it. All right, and then we need some levels for Maine on Boeing, Tom.
Boeing. I love Boeing. One of my favorite stocks out there. I love the long-term trend line here. I think that's a great bottom level if you can eye it up on the daily. Looks like the bottom was right around 210. So that's where I'd look for with that one. But I really like that 215 support. That's going to be a great intraday support. I think if we end up going down to that, great resistance though is up here at 220. We definitely bounced off that one a couple times. We got really close to it today and then fell. So really watch for a breakout up above 220 if you want to play calls. And if Boeing ends up going down, make it fall below 215. But personally, I think it looks pretty good to the upside. And I think it might keep going up for the next couple days. I'll definitely be eyeing this one up tomorrow. If it breaks 220, I'll really get in. And who knows, we might have a good end of day move and break that.
There we go. And then we have Vicky coming in saying, hit the like, people. There we go. So, guys, like we said earlier, hitting the like button really, really helps us out. So, we'd greatly appreciate it if you guys could hit the like button. But, looking at a couple different scanners right now, Tom, of course, we have, stocks like Boeing, Zillow, Redfin, CHPT rising. But one stock I actually wanted to highlight was AMC. It's up 5% today. It is uptrending like in the short term. What are you seeing with AMC, Tom? Like I said, they're up like 5%. Like, what levels do you have for us?
Yeah, I mean, they're actually breaking a little bit of a resistance I'm seeing. There's a pretty good resistance here around 36. I like that we're breaking out above that. And you could even say 36.15 was a good resistance, but we ran all the way up to 36 like 30. So that's a great break there. I'm glad to see it. And it held $33 pretty well. I think $33 is a really good support down here. So I really like that level for a bottom level, and for an upper level, definitely watch today for around 37. That's definitely a big level to look for. We hit it a few times in the past and had some pretty big downward moves off of it. But you're right. AMC has a lot of momentum today. And on the daily chart, ever since we bounced or double bottomed at $30, it's been a pretty good move, and it's been moving back up pretty nicely. I really like to see it today have this type of momentum, Mike. And, a lot of people have been I know that, they've been hitting AMC pretty hard lately because it's been falling off, off a cliff, which was good, but actually it's bouncing off the 30 support pretty well right now. And I think it could have a pretty good move maybe tomorrow and even for the rest of today. Whenever it gets hot, it gets hot. And I think a lot of buyers are coming in at these support levels. Now, personally, it's not my favorite stock. I don't think I'd buy shares and hold it for the long term or anything, but I think I could definitely get into some call options, maybe some quick day trades and stuff like that with AMC. Now, I'm not saying to go buy weekly calls and swing them into tomorrow. I'm saying like really quick, like, maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour long holds and stuff like that.
All righty. All right. And then we have Maine saying, will UPST ever sell off? And, I'm with you, Maine. Like, it's popping and it's holding its ground. Like, it sold off a tiny bit last week, but nothing significant. Looking throughout history, like, it'll usually hold its ground for a couple weeks and then sell off. Two examples I have would be on you could say like March 24th or so. It would just like pop up and it would consolidate and then it'd slowly fade off. Same thing on June, I guess you say June 3rd. It like pops up and then consolidates for a couple days and then sells off. So I would expect it to do the same thing this time around.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just a really like weird situation for UPST. Like it's consolidating around all-time highs. It's probably pretty risky to like get in right now for the long term, of course, but I think calls could be pretty good. I love the way how it broke $200. I think that's a really good way to look at it. It held 200 really nicely. It also held this red 1000 SMA on the 5-minute pretty well, which is a pretty good level to look for. And on the 15-minute, like I said, that 200 support looks pretty good now that we're back up above there. So I think we could continue to see a good move today. And I love how on Friday it got all the way up to 208. I would honestly expect it to maybe go back up to 208 again today.
Awesome. So yeah, I really like this setup on CHPT, Tom. I think it has a lot of potential.
Yeah, me too, actually. And look at it running intraday, up 4%. Looks really good. Look at it on the max daily, though. I mean, it was going down pretty significantly off these upper resistances at like $26.60 and like $27. But it came down to around that $20 support, and we're getting a solid bounce back up now. We do have earnings coming up, though, on, it looks like September 1st, which is a little scary for us. But I still like CHPT nonetheless. I think it's a great play. And I love it off support. And I love how it has 2 green candles right now turning around, really solid. And there's definitely a lot of room back to the upside, like a lot. And even if you're getting shares here, let alone calls or like leaps, even if shares go up and they just go back up and retest resistances of a couple months ago, you're talking about a nice 60% gain almost on that stock. So that's a pretty good risk reward ratio, if you ask me, 60%. And if we go down here, let's say you buy in at $22 and the stock breaks the 20 support and you get out at like $19 even or something, you're looking at a loss of around, 15%. So 15% to 60%, that's a pretty good ratio, like 400%. So not too bad there.
Love to see it. All right. So, Tom, like, what stocks are you watching? I'm seeing Zooms popping up. But I would say personally, like, the top stocks I'm watching would be the airlines, like AAL, and then I would say, like, stocks like CHPT.
Yeah, AAL actually looks really strong too. Big support. I mean, it seems like all these stocks that have been falling lately are hitting off support. I mean, it's weird to see it all happen at one time. And I hate to, say this, but it seems like a lot of the stocks, they get all clumped together and they move the same. And we see it happen all the time with like with growth stocks, of course, and with value stocks. Those are like the main two sectors for it. Oil stocks will generally do this too, but I mean, AAL is moving right off support, and it looks like we also have like Delta Airlines moving off support as well, and then we're also going to have probably UAL around support. Yeah, surprise, surprise, they bounce off support too. And then we also have, I mean, we have like DraftKings, they were kind of bouncing on support. We have like PLTR hitting support too. I mean, it's just like all these growth stocks are like at support going up. Really good sign. And I love that for the market. I think that's a really good sign for the next few weeks to come. And it's just great overall for just about every stock. Everybody loves stocks that can move up a lot. And obviously, like, there's just so much potential, like with UPST, Zoom, and all these like growth stocks that have been flying. It's just really good news today to see them keep going.
You know it. Alrighty, so I'm just trying to look at a couple more things. Let's see. Looks like, yeah, I mean, Baba is, it's still struggling. But besides that, I'm just trying to see if there's any last minute questions. We have Stefan asking about BLNK. So this one will move in a pretty similar way as like with CHPT.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks pretty good off support too. Like they hit $30 support, looks really decent to the upside. And they're kind of mentioning that infrastructure bill too. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it'll move just like CHPT and just like some of these other EV stocks too.
Awesome. And then we have Hunter asking or saying MU is hanging on to $70 for dear life. Yeah, it's been struggling. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, it's really struggling actually. Personally, I would just start to average in here at $70 if it was me, or I'm sure Hunter is selling puts on it. I think that's probably the smart way to go. But if you did have to get shares, I would say average in like right here at 70 is not too bad to start, but don't be surprised. I could definitely see MU keep going down. Some of these technicals are looking pretty bad. Now they have a pretty big support at 70, kind of like what Hunter said. It's clinging onto here for dear life, because if it breaks 70, I mean, I could definitely see it going to 65 or even lower all the way down to 60. So really scary levels here for MU. I hope they hold up, but it's not looking too promising right now. Like I said, I would definitely look at possibly averaging in just a little bit on them. It would be I think that's a decent idea, but I'm glad you pointed this one out, Hunter, because it kind of left my mind a little bit. I was looking at it a lot around this 70 support, and if they break it and start to head towards 60, man, I'll really be buying in at around $60. And hopefully if they go down to 60, the overall market will drop down a little bit, and then maybe the overall market will get a nice move back to the upside, and a lot of those stocks that fell, kind of like MU in that scenario, will start to recover back.
All right, and then we have Maine saying, guys, what do you think of the crypto plays right now? Mara and Riot are so choppy. So they're not bad for dip buys right now. Of course, a lot of it will depend on what Bitcoin and other, just cryptos do. But, they're not bad for a dip buy, but I just feel like there's better plays out there.
Yeah, for sure. And the only bad news is that Mara and Riot have been kind of flying up off support lately. Pretty good. And Bitcoin is, yeah, sure, they're breaking 50,000 right now. It looks like, though, they have a pretty big resistance right around like 52,000, somewhere really close to there. You could say like 51,500. Just be really careful with them. I feel like that there's a lot of resistance coming up. And ever since we hit that 30,000 support, it's almost been straight up. Sure, we had a little bit of resistance around 48,000, but other than that, it's been pretty much straight up for Bitcoin, and maybe expect it to hit resistance over the next few days and maybe go back down just a little bit. But it's hard to say. Mara and Riot, I really like the way that they're playing right now and the way that they've been breaking out. But it just, like I said, though, they've just been going up so much off those supports. Honestly, like Mara is almost up 100% from this bottom level. Like up to today's price, they're up 80% from that like $20 support. So pretty big moves lately. So I'd be a little careful with it. but I do love how Bitcoin's breaking out. I hope it can continue and break through these resistances coming up because they look like they're going to be pretty strong.
All right, and then we have Vicky saying check ASTR. So this one is popping, Tom. It's popping. It's up like 10%.
There we go. I actually love to see this with ASTR, and I'm actually going to look this up really quick, but they're going to actually have some launches coming up pretty soon. Let me see. It looks like they're going to be having a launch date coming up. They're targeting their first commercial orbital launch for August 27th. So it looks like coming up sometime this weekend, or actually this Friday. So definitely look for a little bit of a pop heading into that. Keep in mind, SPCE had some great moves heading into their launches, and this company is actually going to be launching a Space Force satellite with it. So that's a pretty big thing, I think, and it's actually been out of the news quite a bit. This could honestly be a pretty good little like gamble play heading into this. I hate to gamble on, stuff like this, but it looks like with these launches and stuff, if they go well, it could make for pretty good moves. Now, if it goes bad, obviously the stock's probably going to get hurt pretty bad. It'll probably have a bad like 20% move to the downside. But if the launch goes well and everything, we could go up. And I think maybe heading up into Friday, into the launch date, the stock might start to go up with the hype of the launch coming up. And it might be a good play to play into the launch rather than hold through the launch. So there's definitely a lot of scenarios that you can do with ASTR, but really interesting stuff coming up with them. And I like the movement actually heading up this week. If we continue to see this hype, I mean, who knows, that hype into the launch could get pretty significant. And I would think we could maybe come up and retest $12 over the next couple of days.
Here we go. And then Raphael said Tesla woke up. Yes, it did. It's up like 3.5% now.
Yeah, we actually broke through 700. Pretty good move to the upside. Broke through that 1,000 SMA too. I'm actually really happy to see it breaking 700. Now, hopefully we can hold $700 because it seems like every other time we've been breaking up above it lately, it ends up bouncing off of it and then falling right back below it. Kind of like what we saw a couple weeks ago, a couple huge red candles and right after it fell through 700. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But I love the movement today. And honestly, if these growth stocks continuing holding the way they are and going up, I think Tesla could definitely start to go up. And it looks like they might start to go up and maybe break this longer term trend line and finally get out of this like little bearish movement that they've been in.
Love to see it. So Tom, do you have any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Still have my eye on a couple stocks like crude oil. Of course, it's not a stock, but looking at the commodity slash CL really hard today. They, for some reason, had a huge green day. Crude popped back up 5%. Like I said, it could be some Afghanistan news going on with that. I still have my eyes on Moderna, ticker MRNA here. It's been actually a pretty solid play today, popping back up off of their lows. Reminds me of like AMD or like how Pfizer's moving up today also. Just some pretty good moves out of them. And then also CHPT was running up earlier today as well. Still have my eyes on them. I know we still have that swing play on them. It should be doing pretty well.
Awesome to see it. So thank you guys so much for joining the stream. We had a great time. There's a lot moving in the market, so it should be an interesting week. Make sure to be alert with all the crazy catalysts and plays and everything going on. But besides that, thank you guys so much for joining and have an amazing rest of your day.